Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak from thebitcoinpodcast.com, here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Today I have a co-host, John Crothers from Cryptotherapy on YouTube. John, go ahead and introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, how goes it? I am John Crothers from Cryptotherapy, and Ken just invited me onto this little show here, so I said, yeah, sure, thanks. So here I am. I know y'all probably already know who I am, but if you don't, I'm on YouTube at Cryptotherapy, and you can find me there.
Alright guys, so we have John, and today's topic, the altcoin or token of the day, we're going to talk about Swarm City. Right now it's valued at about $1.11, which seems to be down about 4.3% for the day. Let's see, they got a total market cap right now of about 8,373,000. That's not too shabby. Circulating supply of the SWT token suite, they call it the suite token. They have 7,548,920. If you look at their all-time chart, they have a spike to over $15, dude, like about a month into existence, and it has come down to about a penny and has worked its way back up to about as high as $6, and now it seems to be back on its way down to $1, possibly below $1. You familiar with Swarm City at all, John?
No, I had never looked at this, except for hearing, or not hearing, but reading people's comments like, hey, what about Swarm City? So, today was the first time that I ever looked at this. After looking at I was like, I don't know. This, the website looks like it was put together by a middle school, a grade, on a computing class or something.
Well, we can check out the website right here. So here we have the website. It does look pretty basic, kind of plain.
Yeah, let's see. Running on Ethereum blockchain, stored locally on your device, no central database. It's an open source project, so you jump right in on it.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and jump right in. It says click here to enter. Let's enter.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. Tell me more. What was it like?
Centralized commerce platform. They got a video there too. Did you watch the video?
I have. I don't know if I didn't check to see if it had the Creative Commons license or if it was standard YouTube. I should have checked that. But I'm right here. I'm actually going to make a wallet live. So it says create a new user. Oh yeah, this right here, ARC to SWT. So you're not too familiar with Swarm City. Let me give you a piece of its history. It used to go by, and still does in a fork of its chain, by Arcade City. Arcade.city. And they had a falling out with the investors and the guy who ended up turning into a CEO douche. So basically, all the developers, all the users, the investors moved away from Arcade City and went with the fork of Swarm City, where you can take that ARC token that you invested in Arcade City and you may not agree with now. You can take that and carry it into Swarm City. So right here, they can, yes, convert my tokens, which I don't have any of, but you can click that and put in a password. We'll say password1, and we can go ahead and save that. It's creating a wallet. And by the way, dude, password1 is my favorite password. I use it for everything. You should use it too. It's the most secure password on the internet.
Okay, so let me get onto your Ether wallet and
awesome. No, it'll work. Oh shit. No. So here you can see I created a user. You can give yourself your own name, your own photo. Here you can see the tokens being displayed. You can send, or you could pick a short code. Your short code is live for, I think, 90 seconds, possibly less, maybe a little bit more. But it's only a couple seconds, really. And then after this code disappears or that time runs out, you have to generate a new one. And that's the code you'll use to send SWAT. So instead of using a very long public key, you just use one of those burner numbers. It's, you know, a very short number. And that's it. You just make sure that you backed up your wallet on your computer by downloading the file. I think it forces it there, so you're good to go. Your browser remembers all this information, so your hardware is now your wallet. Swarm City's pretty easy to get into, but it's not so easy to understand. You know, it's basically a ride-sharing platform. So you could be a decentralized Uber driver, and the decentralized organization behind it is Swarm City. But for insurance purposes and legal reasons and the more laws that keep popping up around the ride sharing, I think that being Swarm City's biggest hurdle is going to be legality. I mean, I understand it's decentralized and it's on the internet, the government can't stop you, but you know, if they make it a big enough hassle, people might not even try to go through that route, and they'll just sign up with Uber where they have the insurance and they have the legality and they can do their taxes at the end of the year without worrying.
Yeah. No, see, I was looking at this and it seemed like they were trying to solve a problem that wasn't there. You know?
It is and isn't, though. In certain areas, like where Arcade City, the original backstory for Swarm City was, I believe, Austin, something like that. I think it was Austin or something, but they had a problem where the taxi drivers actually protested and got a lot of Uber drivers fired. They basically kicked Uber out of the city. So if you were an Uber driver and that was your way of income for months, you could possibly have issues.
It's frozen.
So that's where the idea for Arcade City came from. It was a problem that they were having in a smaller circle. Maybe not a global issue, because if you're a driver and if you pass a background check, which anybody that gets in a car with somebody would hope they had to do, you know, that may be the better route. But some people in some cities, even though they can pass a background check and they do have a driver's license, they can't get a job with Uber because the city kicked that service out. So there's sort of a purpose for it.
You're very broken up on my end, but I think I got what you're saying.
Yeah, it looks like our video froze.
But,
I refreshed and it kind of worked. It looks like the live chat's frozen on my screen though.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I saw that, and I just exited.
Yep, that's why we're doing this. We're trying to do this live to figure out what we can and can't do. Let me see. I think there's an option somewhere here. I got this. Let's see if that worked. Alright, now I don't know why the our Hangouts video is frozen as well. So let me see if I can refresh this.
Well, for some people it is, but when I hit refresh, that fixed itself.
Alright, so
but
it could be...
The chat is frozen. It says disconnected or something like that.
Really? I have it on my end. Sorry about... Oh, here we go. I refreshed it. Just catching up. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Alright, I think the chat's back up. I think everything's up and running. I think our Google Hangouts may be up and running again. Let me know, please. Is the Google Hangout still frozen?
No, you're fine.
Alright, cool. Alright, John, can you hear me?
It looks like everything's back to normal.
I can.
Alright, sorry about that. Going through some technical issues. I think I just had to refresh. I'm gonna have to get my girlfriend's the admin for the chat right now, so I'm gonna have to get her to like do like the mix board, like a radio show has like a mix board. I'm gonna have to get her on the mixer.
I need like 3 screens.
So you should just come out to Colorado. We don't have as many.
Well, if we get to 100 live viewers, we'll be giving away 0.1 Litecoin randomly. There's a link in the description box below. If you click the link in the description box, you should be entered to win 0.1 Litecoin by the end of the show. So yeah, what was your take on Swarm City though? You said you don't think they're solving a problem. I mean, I explained my thought on that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, again, that was like the backstory where they had an issue in a city where.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean, today was the first day that I ever looked at this, and I saw that James Bond in the comments said that they were hacked, but just by looking at the website or whatever, I just wasn't impressed or anything. It just seemed like that they were trying to solve an issue that isn't there or something, But I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know shit about the coin.
No, I got you. I got you. Yeah, the James Bond trolling away in the chat box. Love that dude. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to everybody that showed up. Thank you guys so much. So we have James Bond first, Robert, Jack, Brown, thank you. 21 Million Club is in the house. Thank you so much. And there's a couple usernames that have names that are too hard to say. Get easier usernames. Hey, our guest for tonight is actually in the chat box, Vortex. Hey, man. Everybody say what's up to Vortex. He'll be on the show soon. We'll get there in a moment. Final Man, War, Mark Crypto. Thank you guys so much for stopping in and participating in the chat box. Thank you guys so much. Cryptotherapy, I see you in there. I'm over here slacking, trying to play Mixer over here on the live show we got. So, I mean, again, personally, I like Swarm City. I think it could be so much more than just replacing Uber. I mean, imagine if you wanted, like, some liquor delivered. Or if you wanted, some McDonald's at 2 a.m. And, some people are willing to do that.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Kind of like a, what's that shit? Oh, man, Grubhub or something like that? Kind of like.
Does yeah, I guess I never used Grubhub, but yeah, I think they deliver. No, there's nothing in my area that delivers food unless they work for the place of business. It really sucks. My buddy lives in Philadelphia. He can get Uber Eats. They deliver McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A. Whatever.
Yeah, same thing out here.
So you can get like Sonic
but
delivered.
It says on the coin market cap that the coin's not mineable or anything like that. So how are coins released? Like, do you know that or?
I have not looked that deep into it. I'm actually in the works of getting somebody from Swarm City on the show. I think we'll have her Friday. I think that's locked in for Friday. So we'll have a Swarm City personality rep. Somebody who is knowledgeable, and we can pick their brain Friday night about this.
All right.
But I just wanted to go over the coin. I mean, it's ranked number 128 at $1, but it does have a ceiling of about 16 bucks. So, I mean, again, when it first released, it sets the ceiling at about $16. It dropped to about as low as a penny. I mean, that's a big drop, and now it's sort of recovering. It worked its way back up halfway to $6, and it's starting to come back down a little bit. I believe there was a release of their Pioneer, which was one of their roadmap things to hit. Next, they're going to have, I believe, Boardwalk, which is a marketplace. So you can make a website, basically, and put your services up there.
I think I got most of that. It was broken English on my end, but...
21 Million Club. At Cryptotherapy, did you turned into Garfield, bro? It's so funny. Your lips don't move while you're talking. It's the lag. I'm going to have to work on getting better software for this. I'm sorry, guys. This is probably super strenuous for my...
I'll just start talking like this so everybody knows that's me talking.
You're going to see a meme of that somewhere, right? Somebody's gonna make a GIF of that.
Yeah. Please do. That'd be funny as shit.
All right, so here's the Bitcoin story of the day. I did pick this up pretty early. There were some other stories that did come out. I'll talk about them another time maybe, or maybe Vortex will bring it up. We don't know, but this is the story I thought would be pretty interesting for us to talk about today, where British companies buy up Bitcoin for ransoms as costs of attacks surge. Now, even just thinking about that in general makes my brain, like, just, my eyes and everything is just like, crypto's gonna moon, I'm seeing money signs, like, Bitcoin's being bought by companies for what? Like, they're just gonna buy it, hold it, and forget they even fucking own it. Like, that's how they're looking at it.
Hold on. So you're saying that they're buying it and forgetting they have it just in case they get hacked, kind of thing?
Exactly it. They're just considering it money that is put aside specifically for when they get hacked. They have an investment in Bitcoin that may grow in value because of the volatility. So like when they get an attack for say $1 million, well maybe the 30,000 that they invested in Bitcoin may be worth that or pretty much close to it, and it will maybe in the end only cost them the 30 original that they invested and held plus another 30 to make it $1 million. So like that's the thought process that I'm seeing behind that. So they're not just British companies doing this. It's just we're seeing a rise in British companies right now. All around the world, companies are doing this, buying Bitcoin for in case of ransomware.
Yeah. Because then maybe the price of it will go up by the time they do get hacked, and then they wouldn't have to pay as much, the dollar value.
Exactly. That's the thought process they have behind it. They want to hold it because they know it goes up in value, and they don't care if it decreases in value because if the time ever comes, they're going to have to spend money anyway. So this is actually a cheaper investment than the alternative, which is just paying out of pocket when it happens, because it's not an if, it's a when scenario. This is so... let's check out the article. I'll read a paragraph or two and we can bullshit on it. There has been a notable uptake in the buying of Bitcoin by some of the bigger companies and businesses in Britain as the fear for a ransomware attack still looms large. There have been some major hits in recent times that have seen companies and institutions as big as the National Health Service and FedEx forced to pay ransoms in Bitcoin. Now, that right there, I mean, FedEx was hit. The National Health Services, that they being attacked with ransomware, I mean, obviously that's not great for Bitcoin on a political sense, but as a use case, it's very obvious.
I know, right? Why can't the ransomware people ask for BitConnect or something?
Oh my God! Give me all the BitConnect, or we're not gonna release the domain.
Yeah.
So they force BitConnect to scam out. That would be perfect. Yeah, it's like hackers that hack shit like Sony PlayStation and Xbox Live, and I'm like, why don't these hackers just get rid of Visa and make all my debt go away?
I know, right? They never do anything good. Never looking out for the rest of us.
But yeah, exactly. Look out for me, man. I don't care about your Sony Xbox and stuff. Give me my credit back. Anyway, negotiating with terrorists. This trend of preparing to be held ransom by British businesses is nothing new, as it was reported in early June that up to a third of businesses in the UK were holding Bitcoin in anticipation. A fucking third. However, despite the advice from law enforcement being that companies should not be paying the ransoms, the number of businesses that have picked up the digital currency has grown. The average fee that an individual has to pay to get back their information has also grown, as it is up from €250 per victim in 2014 to €830 in 2016 and rising farther. I believe the last ransomware attack I saw was asking for about $900 and something, and it was the WannaCry virus. That ransomware was asking for Bitcoin, and it attacked and hit everybody. Hospitals, federal buildings, everything. Dude, it was everywhere. The national... the NSA built this back door for a Windows operating system, and everybody was still running that Windows operating system when that back door was leaked by the NSA, and hackers used the NSA's built back door to lock every computer with the vulnerability and then charged Bitcoin. And we'll get into that in a second, because check this out, man, because I bet you're already thinking, who the fuck would pay to get their... Somebody just hacked you. Why do you think they're going to be honest and actually give you your shit back, right?
Yeah, because ransom, the WannaCry thing was going around. I just made sure that all of my computers were up to date because Microsoft released an update to close those back doors and everything. I also backed up all of my important information onto 2 thumb drives and an external hard drive, and I'm also running a VPN now and everything, and I'm just trying to make sure that my shit is secure and that nobody can really peek in on me outside using the VPN and whatever, and I don't want to get attacked by a WannaCry or anything, and but who knows when they find another back door and that we don't know about, and we all get affected anyway. So it's good to have your shit backed up offline, disconnected from the computers and everything, so that this way, if something does happen, you can reload the operating system on your computer, and I have to start over from square one. I have a lot of information that's important, military documents, my discharge documents, and all kinds of shit that I cannot, because the VA is such a piece of shit, I cannot get back, so I
gotta get one of these, man. A 3 terabyte external hard drive.
That's how many?
3 terabyte external hard drive.
Damn, man, I've only got 1 tera.
I think I actually have a terabyte filled on that already. Yeah, it's a lot.
God damn.
Yeah. All right, so let me finish up this article a little bit because it gets so much more juicy, man. Check this out. Hold tight, hold big. It is estimated that companies are holding on average 46,000 euros, with larger firms holding 136,000 euros worth of Bitcoin. It seems a rather large sum, but a Korean web hosting provider was forced to pay 1 million in ransomware demand to restore data from an attack which infected 3,400 separate websites. And the Spanish telecom giant Telefonica faced a 85% computer shutdown after hackers infiltrated its system, demanding $550,000 in Bitcoin in May. It has been part of the many companies' budget to set aside enough money to build a stockpile that would be suitable in an event of a hack. Now check this out. This is where it gets really interesting right here. So, cyber crime is the new 9 to 5. Dude, this is so, I kind of want this job, but then again, I'm gonna, you ever want to be a telemarketer? You know what I mean? Like, I want to call people at dinner time. Like, it's 6 o'clock, you're fucking calling them, and you already know how the conversation's gonna go. But could you imagine being somebody who represents a ransomware company that has just extorted money from somebody, and you're walking them through how to get their shit back? Could you imagine having that fucking job? Like, the amount of, troll and the amount of, fuck you, and, it's just gonna be, a job, you'll never have. There's no job that could compare to being this guy who's gonna walk you through after you just paid ransom. There's no job like that.
Yeah.
So, cybercrime is the new 9 to 5. The ease in which criminals are working and hacking major companies has a lot to do with the manner in which they approach things. It has been a professional racket, which even seems to return the data being done through friendly customer support. When victims do bite the bullet and pay for a return of their information, they are met with an agent via Skype-type call or chat box that helps them get the return of their data in step-by-step instructions. Furthermore, a security consultant has explained how organized the cybercrime is, explaining its effectiveness. Quote, "What we're seeing is criminality that works around a conventional business model. You've got people who are effectively employees, who turn up to work in an office block, who spend the day extorting cash and sending denial of service attacks, have a sandwich break, and then go home to put the kids to bed. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a staff restaurant and gym," end quote. And then it goes on to another topic here I'm going to run through. We got about 5 minutes left till we get to our guest. Caught napping. Andrew Beckett, I believe, head of cyber defenses for corporate risk company Kroll, has said that the hackers are leading the way, and with Bitcoin, anonymity, and the power of the internet, and a multitude of other factors, they hold all the cards. Hey, CoinTelegraph, you have a typo. You're missing the S at the end of that sentence. And then we have another quote here: the rise in malware as a service, where you go and do is buy the ransomware and plug in your victim's IP address or a range of IP addresses, means that the investigation on the part of law enforcement leads you back to at best a gray area. The only connection between multiple attacks is the one guy who sold his program to multiple people. The result is a sinister growth industry which companies are scrambling to anticipate by stockpiling Bitcoin, and which experts warn the world is not yet ready to repel. Beckett added another quote: "The world has been caught napping, and that we don't have the resources either in tooling or the skilled people to combat at the scale at which it has arrived. It will change, but for now, we are from the defensive point of view on the losing end of an arms race." Dude, this literally just gave Bitcoin like so much street cred. I know it's not the best street cred, but that's some good street cred.
Right. What is it? Any exposure is good exposure. Any advertising is good advertising, or something like that.
Yeah, when it comes to Bitcoin, that's for sure.
But you know, if I was a hacker, you know, a cyber crimer, and I know that these companies are stockpiling on Bitcoin, just preparing for the event that like I go and hack them, that just makes me want to ask for more, you know?
Yup, the thing that's making them stay, I think the one thing that's keeping them from asking for too much is they want to get paid. And they do provide a service. There's employees that are going to walk you through how to get your stuff back. It's a legit business. Their business is to expose your vulnerabilities, take advantage of that vulnerability. You pay for their lesson. It's a life lesson. You pay for it, and then you keep on trucking, and you make sure that you don't get left with your pants down the next time. Honestly, they might be doing us a service, because imagine if FedEx was hacked by somebody who didn't just want, you know, the ransom. Imagine if it was hacked by somebody who stole all of the addresses and names and credit card information attached to those names and addresses and sold that on the dark web instead of asking for ransom. They got their money from doing something even worse. So maybe these hackers are just exposing how companies as big as FedEx and Target and Home Depot, they're not very concerned with the security in which we think they're putting on our information. When we do business with a business, their first concern should be the security of the transfer of value. And it's probably, obviously, the least the concern that they have.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even think about it in that point of view. That is a great take on it. I mean, you know, they probably have a better customer service than a lot of businesses out there anyway.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, honestly, if you're paying, if your job is to help somebody get their data back, I do that for a living. You know, at my job, my day job, we help people get stuff back on broken phones all the time. I couldn't imagine helping an entire company unlock 8,500 website domains after they were just locked. And you know, like that, just like it's a good and evil. It's a good and evil because like you're doing a good thing by helping them, but it was because something evil happened. It's almost like being a surgeon. Like the only reason a surgeon has a Ferrari is because people get shot and need liver transplants because they drink too much. So like that's a necessary evil. I think the only reason FedEx hasn't had a leak in data and user data is because these hackers basically pulled their pants down, put FedEx over their knee, spanked them a couple times, charged them a quick penny, taught them a lesson, and sent them on their way. So my perspective, it's definitely like a vigilante justice.
Yeah, and I'm wondering like when they come on the live stream or you know on come up on video chat with you, if it's some guy in a ski mask who's like, okay, let me help you get your shit back here, you know, kind of thing.
Hey, it's about that time.
And then there's a customer survey at the end.
Yeah, exactly. A customer survey. How did we do? You get 10% off your next ransomware. All right, man, it's about that time. I bet Vortex is going to be popping in. All right, so Vortex is a YouTube personality. And speak of the crypto devil. Hey, brother, how goes it?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's going on, man?
Hey, Vortex.
Nothing much. Great. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you making time to be here. I know you're a busy man. Your channel is phenomenally well. I know you're busy. You were just live not too long ago. You're doing very well. The comments, man, are so humbling, I bet, man. You get a lot of love, and you don't see too much of that. People tend to troll around here. So you got yourself a good following.
True. It's true. We definitely see our share of trolls as well. The trolls are out there nice and thick. But yeah, we do love our community. We love our chat. We love our comments. And we definitely try to do our best, to bring the truth to people. And I think that's why they like to show us love, because we definitely don't mess around and we tell it like it is.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you real quick before we get into it, where you're at on YouTube, Twitter, the etc.
Sure, man. So yeah, real quick, you can find the channel that I'm a part of called the World Crypto Network. You can just YouTube or Google World Crypto Network. You'll find our YouTube channel, or you can go to worldcryptonetwork.com. And then I'm on Twitter, of course. I tweet every once in a while, over there on Twitter at @the1vortex, all spelled out like it is, @the1vortex.
All right, I have a link in the description box below as well, guys. So if you want to go ahead, click on that link, go over there, subscribe, come on back, or do that at the end of the show. All right, so let me go ahead and get started. Did you want to talk a little bit? Were you following that story with the ransomware and companies buying Bitcoin just to stockpile it? Like, what is your thoughts on the long-term effect that will have value-wise on Bitcoin?
Well, first, it's going to do a couple of things you have to understand. Bitcoin is going to rip through this planet like people have never seen before. In addition to having the greatest wealth transfer that's ever going to happen in human history, we are going to reshape and reform many different parts of our society, including regulation, money, taxes, all of this kind of stuff. And definitely, hardware security is one of them. Before, we've never ever had to protect anything too important on our computers. We could simply back it up. There wasn't really anything to lose so much as, maybe some of your family pictures. But now that has changed when we have now turned money into information with Bitcoin. You can now lose your computer. So this is a real deal thing, and the internet by itself, is already fundamentally broken with DDoS attacks and things like that. And then you have this hardware security that are in most businesses that's just horrible. I'm talking running Windows NT here, like just old stuff. Like they really don't even try, because again, they didn't really have too much incentive to get hacked until we have Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin provides this incentive for hackers to go out and expose these vulnerabilities. I think you hit the nail right on the head there very much, Ken, when you said that this is doing this a service. What they are actually doing is maybe not necessarily that particular company a service. They might not view it like that, but as a whole, we are reshaping and reforming hardware security with Bitcoin. We are going to make sure that we usher in an era called trusted computing. This is going to mean that you can hardware that you buy, that it's not owned by Intel before you even get it, that it's not owned by the NSA before you even get it. Because of course, Vault 7 showed us that all the latest Intel chips from the past few years owned at the CPU. Nothing you can do, people. So this is going to allow us to really ask the question: is this the kind of hardware we want, or do we want secure, privacy-driven, encrypted by default hardware and software? And this is the era that Bitcoin will rush in. Now, what will it do for the price? Well, it's not going to hurt it. It's really not going to hurt it. You see, the actual the business of extorting people's security issues for Bitcoin is really not that big of a business. Not that big of a business as you might think. These exchanges, right? They do much more business than anything like that. The OTC markets, of course, are just the hugest that you can find. billions get transacted in days. So this is just huge market. Bitcoin is going to have so many more use cases than just this exploitation of security vulnerabilities, that it's really only one small part of Bitcoin in a whole. So it's really not going to affect it too much overall, as much as it's going to actually affect the rest of the world. The Bitcoin price is just going to keep on going up.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, regardless, and yeah, the price is going to keep going up. And the use case, I love how Bitcoin found the use case in not just ransomware, but how the ransomware is being used. It's not being they're not being blackmailed saying we have all this user data and we'll expose it. They're just saying that you can't have it either. And this is your lesson. You know, you should, as a company, take more security and concerns and steps into providing better security for your users. And I think if anything like this does happen to a company like FedEx or like Target, where anything could be, or, you know, the national health, whatever, if it does happen, they should pay whatever is being asked, because somebody just did them a service by showing them a vulnerability, almost like a white hat hack, but with like half a black hat on.
Yep, definitely a net positive. This will be a net positive for society. Our hardware will get absolutely more secure. We will get absolutely more trust through cryptography and Bitcoin.
Speaking of more security on hardware, I'm actually in talks with John McAfee via DM on Twitter, which is really crazy for me, and he's kind of really crazy, so I'm like, why are we talking all the time? But we go back and forth, and I'm talking to him about, like, the importance of encrypted hardware and encrypted software and encrypted networks, where our service providers don't have anything to do with anything. Where when I send you a text message, the entire time I was using the keyboard, that's private. The entire display of the text in the message, private. When it goes in the air and goes to you, private. And totally encrypted on every level of the message. And I really worry about people that think like, oh, wasn't Jax just hacked? I'm like, no, your shitty Windows computer was hacked because Chrome sucks. They had a vulnerability in Chrome. The exploit was through the Windows operating system, so you were vulnerable from the hardware. The software is just a life force on the hardware. And everybody thinks that, you know, you buy a computer and you buy a phone and you can put all your nudes on there, and then we have the fappening, where all the celebrities had their nudes leaked. You know, people have way too much default blanket security and technology, but John McAfee is about to change the game when it comes to physical hardware encryption, and from the communication level of the hardware to the service provider. I think that, like, you're right, we're going to see a jump in private and encrypted software hardware technology, because Bitcoin's making that a necessity. We found another need for something else because something else exists. Like, we didn't have speed limits before we had cars. You know, like, horse and buggies never went so fast. We were like, slow that shit down, bro. But we got cars, so now we needed to come up with a way that you know, we found a problem with cars, even though they do a good thing. And that's where we're at with this. We're in a place now where it's so old, we're running into things that may seem bad, but it's good that we're running into these things and coming to those solutions now.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting age. Like I said, really, you know, Nick Szabo and a couple other people kind of coined it. It's really going to be the age of trusted hardware. And it's going to be all cryptographically secure. You know, there are people working on the internet version 2, so to speak. You know, you got people like MadeSafe and a couple other coins and various companies that are actually working on creating an encrypted by default network, where your actual private key is your password. You no longer need passwords, because everything is just cryptographically secured for you by your private key.
That's awesome. John, you have anything you wanted to bring up, bud? John, can you hear me?
He looks frozen.
Oh, no, I'm not frozen, but he's broken on my end, so I don't know when he's talking to me still.
I just did you have anything that you wanted to bring up?
No, that's the thing, I don't.
Well, anything you want to ask?
It all sounds very nice, and from what Vortex, when he was talking, I was like, "Hey, this man's got a lot to say." I'm subscribing to his ass, so I went and did that while you were. But
yeah, John,
yeah.
Meet Vortex. Vortex, meet John.
Nice to meet you, sir.
So, you know, you're saying that, you know, John McAfee's coming on your show and talking about this hardware encryption.
Yeah, it's called he's calling it the Sentinel product, and it's a hardware router that encrypts everything from the ISP. So if you're using your internet to download torrents or for whatever, the service provider has no clue what you're doing with the internet. It's encrypted from the router.
So it's like a hardware VPN?
Yep.
So I have not heard of this, but I can tell you that the router receives the signal, right? So which means that sure, you can make a router encrypt everything once it hits the router, but from the ISP, that would actually have to be at the ISP level. You can't stop your data being encrypted from the router to the ISP with just your router.
And it also serves purpose. Well, it may not be to that level, but it also serves other purposes. Like if you were to try and hack my computer, it would know and it would give me your IP address. I think I read somewhere like within 60 seconds or something. It would know that my computer is being attacked from an outside source, and it would give me the IP address and the exact like software that they were using to attack me, the time and point, and I believe it has a failsafe built in that does a what do they call that when you backed up your computer last? Like,
let me tell you this, Ken. Let me say this real quick. I can assure you, versus hackers who want Bitcoin, the hackers will win every single time. You have to understand the software that these people are working with, especially since the release of Vault 7 and the treasure trove of 0 days that were basically unleashed upon the planet. There is stuff that you cannot stop. For example, like the WannaCry, the only way to stop that was to actually stop it at the domain level. We got lucky with that one, that was an easy fix, but you couldn't have stopped it otherwise. There was literally no other way to stop it. You can do various detections, but again, that's really easy to get around. So just so you know, I just want you to, just so you and the audience are aware, I just want to make sure that you understand there is no one-stop shop save you all. Not in the world of Vault 7. Maybe back in the 90s, maybe or even early 2000s, but we now live in the post-Snowden, post-Vault 7 world where your chip is actually owned at the hardware level before you even purchase it.
Yeah, that's scary. That really worries me, but that's what makes me kind of feel comfortable about my ledger. They're encrypted hardware. I would hope that the chips that they have used on this hardware are not that type of chip. And I'm encrypted.
Hopefully they're not Intel chips. If they're not Intel chips, you're good.
I'm going to have to look into it. I'm going to have to crack it open.
I can tell you for sure that things like the ledger, they track the hardware at every step of the level. The Trezors do. Rodolfo, his device, the name is escaping me right now for some reason, but I can Google it real quick. His little device where it's just basically a stick of hardware, that is secure as well.
Yeah, I got something like that.
From himself.
This
so
little guy.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. So that is secure. So there is a couple things that you can trace the hardware back from. And this is actually going to be a whole new paradigm. Remember, this is a whole new business model as well for businesses who want to come in and create this. Because, for example, there is a computing company, now that name is escaping me, but there is this computing company that actually sells laptops where the hardware can be verified from the start where it's gone. So you can be assured that it's actually not owned by the three-letter agencies or Vault 7 for the most part, because it doesn't use an Intel processor. It uses a different kind of processor. And the hardware is all sourced from manufacturers where you can trace everything back. So this is a whole new business model that people are going to start coming out. They're going to start selling trusted hardware.
I seen something like that where they were. I seen something like that where they were doing this not just because of where are the chips, government owned chips, but did these computer components get their materials, their minerals, material, the raw material from slavery in third world countries. Now you can track your iPhone back to the slave that built it. It's really going to change everything, I think, when you can pick up a Lenovo laptop and realize that they bought most of the raw materials from third world countries where they pay people pennies and they work till they're dead.
Yep, and this is going to usher in a whole new paradigm where you don't have to actually just go from this. See, right now it's because of monopolies. They can do that because they have monopolies. When everybody can work for anybody and get paid by anybody, that's a whole new paradigm. That's a whole new world. And that's what Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are going to bring us. So it's going to break up a lot of monopolies, both in the hardware, the software, the regulation, the medical, the insurance. It's going to really break up a lot of monopolies, similar to what the internet did. What the internet did for information, it completely democratized it, completely destroyed monopolies. And this is what Bitcoin is going to do for money. It's going to open up finance. It's going to allow you to be your own bank, and it's going to really destroy most monopolies and things like that. When you just think about companies like Uber, when you think about companies like Facebook, these people produce no content. Uber owns no cars. Airbnb owns no hotels. The only service that they provide really is a website and the ability for one person to pay the other. They are an intermediary. these types of systems are going to go away when we have things like Bitcoin and what you were talking about earlier with Swarm City. These types of things are what's going to really take off, because these monopolies are going to get busted. Now, someone did ask in the chat if hardware wallets are vulnerable as soon as you plug them into a computer or even an infected computer, and the answer is no, they are not vulnerable, because they create the keys on the device itself, and that is protected from any type of network connectivity. So there is no way that you can actually get your hardware wallet owned if the hardware is secure.
Yep, and I like how you brought that full circle there with the Swarm City thing in that, and they cover a little bit on the monopolies. Now, here's my thought. Andreas Antonopoulos, our great crypto leader in most situations, he likes to bring up the fable of the horse and buggy versus the automotive industry. Now, you're talking about a multitude of monopolies that crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain technology is going to be basically wiping out of existence, taking away its entire use case, which makes it have no value. So I can't imagine Bitcoin's success. I mean, I can, but it's like, it's just so hard to think about it as imagine somebody who just came into it. You're competing with banks. You're competing with credit card processes. You're competing with companies like Uber and you know, Amazon, like everything. You're competing with the way the world is run, and everything's about to change 180. It feels like Bitcoin's the fight against Bitcoin, it's too great to be won. What do you think about that?
Sure. So you can really look and draw to a lot of parallels from the early days of the internet. You have to remember what the internet did. It completely changed the world. You spoke about monopolies like changing the way that the world works, and that's absolutely what the internet did. I mean, the monopolies that these people had on the printed word for hundreds of years, right? Not decades like Facebook or something like that you're talking about, but centuries, right? So this type of stuff is completely changing the paradigm, and it really seems to be unbelievable, because what happens is with these world-changing exponential technologies, people always overestimate the first couple of years, and then when it doesn't take off as expected, they throw it away. They think it's not going to happen. Then all of a sudden they come back 10, 15 years later, and the whole world is using that technology and adopted it, and wondered how life was like before it. So this is what a lot of people, like in our generation, I don't know, I think you're in the 30s there, Ken. Our generation, you know, we grew up without in early grade school, we grew up without the internet. You know, there was no internet, and all of a sudden we got out of high school. There was chat rooms. By the time we hit, you know, our mid-20s, Facebook was on every single billboard everywhere. And this is how world-changing technologies happen. They happen when nobody is looking. They get triggered by events that nobody could really predict. And this is what's happening with Bitcoin. This is what Bitcoin is going to do. It's going to wipe through the system. It's going to wipe through all of these different, old paradigms. And people are going to wonder what the hell happened. Well, what happened is quietly the entire world began to basically revolt against the current financial system, against these monopolies of government, and against these monopolies of finance that have existed for many, many centuries. We are revolting. We are now, with the internet, enlightening the world. I really call it like a world, a renaissance, a financial renaissance. This cryptocurrencies is bringing a global financial renaissance that, again, will not be seen for many, many, many hundreds of years to come after this. This is going to be the greatest shift of wealth ever seen before in human history.
Yeah, you're right, and they cover that too, man. I just saw an article today that a student, I think it was a dude from Pennsylvania, I could be wrong from exactly where, but a college student put in $2,000 into an ICO, I think, and turned it into $1 million.
Absolutely, and you have to, let me jump in real quick. I got to say something about that, because people are like, you know, how can crypto do this? How can crypto do this? We're just this little company. We're just this little market. But remember, we bootstrapped this $100 billion cryptocurrency industry from nothing, from zero. But Bitcoin started it all. We bootstrapped it from absolutely nothing. Now everybody, like that gentleman you mentioned, who suddenly has $1 million. There's all of these people that are now wealthy enough in crypto that we can now bootstrap from 100 billion to $1 trillion, and then on and on, onward and upward. We now have the means. We have the technology. We have the perfect timing, and we have the actual financial backing to be able to quit our day jobs and build this new world. that everybody has always been dreaming of. You know, free we've been dreaming about this for a while. Money outside of the state. There's many people that have pondered this and thought about this ever since we've had the internet. They're postulating a digital money that's free from government control, and this is what we have.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day when you know, someone tries to handle it. What the fuck is this? You know, and I really wish that more people would understand that shit. That the dollar that they're dealing with isn't worth a damn thing, and someday in the future it could just be worth the toilet paper. You know, I don't think people understand how the dollar is created, where, you know, the Treasury puts out an IOU, and then the Federal Reserve puts out an IOU. They just swap IOUs, and then money just pops into existence. Whatever, when you have to actually mine it and everything. And
it's funny, you know, people just don't understand that 97% of the world's currency is already digital. So we're already in this digital currency paradigm, but people don't understand that they're just numbers in the database. They don't understand that it's not actual real money. It took the world 400 years to convince people that paper was money. It took them less than 100 years to convince them that money on a computer was money. But I assure you that all of the marketing that Apple Pay is doing, all of the marketing that blockchain alliances are doing, all of the marketing that these people are doing, that thinking they're going to outsmart Bitcoin or outflank Bitcoin, is only going to drive adoption to Bitcoin. And it has. We've seen that people get into Ethereum or they get into a blockchain and they're like, wait, what's this Bitcoin thing? Why is this thing different? And they start to question, well, what is Bitcoin? Then they start to question, well, what is money? Well, what is this dollar? And this is the enlightening that I'm talking about that's happening in this global financial renaissance.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened with me. I got into Bitcoin thinking, well, I can make some money at this, you know. And then as I started learning more about what Bitcoin was, and I was like, well, what the fuck is money? What's fiat? You know, what's the difference and everything? And I found out that, wow, you know, the U.S. dollar is not fucking money. It's currency, and there's a difference between money and currency. You know, and then everybody else is like, oh, well, this paper that I'm holding is real money. Bitcoin you're dealing with is not real money. That's fake paper. That's fake shit. Like, and then all I do is laugh inside, because I'm like, you know, the digital money that I'm actually holding on to and spending in other places or whatever is more real than what you're holding in your wallet.
I know both of you.
It's up to us, you know. Sorry, Ken, real quick. It is up to us. Like Ken, who's doing this awesome show. It's up to us to be able to spread the word so people can understand. Because let's be honest, the average person has multiple kids, 40-hour, 50-hour, 60-hour work weeks. They really don't have time for this. You know, it is going to be up to the crypto community and the people who understand this stuff to bring this mainstream to the world.
And that's pretty much why I started my channel. Was like I found something worth talking about that I felt like not enough people talk about. It's like every friend I had was talking about like Kanye getting a divorce at the time. And I'm like, you do know we're $20 trillion in debt as a nation, right? That means you owe $20 trillion with me to somebody. As a nation, we in debt. And they're like, yeah, but Kanye's getting a divorce. It's all fucked up. Beyonce's leaving Jay-Z. It's all fucked up. Lemonade's the shit. I'm like, what is going on? And I was like, you know what? I'm making a YouTube channel, and I'm just going to talk about money, Bitcoin, crypto, and stuff. And be like, maybe somebody will listen. Maybe one or two people will be, like, on board for this. And now I've grown over 3,600 subscribers, which is amazing. And I love all you guys. Thank you, you know, everyone that's subscribed. But it's like, that's what got me to here, the passion behind it. Like you said, and I'm not in my 30s, by the way, I'm actually 28. But I have always had the idea, so close. I have always had the idea, though, of like, fuck the Federal Reserve, fuck banks, like, fuck the US dollar. Most people, and I think I've always saw money a little bit differently than most people, because they'll hold a $5 bill and it will always look like a $5 bill, but the price on the shit you can buy with it keeps moving. And I'm like, but that $5 bill's like nothing now. Like, it ain't gonna get you shit. I used to be able to get so much candy. I still looks like a $5 bill, but it ain't getting me nothing. And then you tell them about one Bitcoin, and then the value of the Bitcoin moves, and they just lose it. I'm like, but the value of the fucking bread and milk that you've been buying your whole life moves, and that didn't blow your mind. Like, why is it so hard, do you think, for people to grasp that mentality that one Bitcoin is always fucking worth one Bitcoin, but your $1 is always going to be worth whatever the hell they charge for the bread and milk at the store?
So there's a couple, you know, that's a multifaceted question, right? So it's kind of, I hear some from somebody. But maybe it's me. I don't think it's me. So I hear. So yeah. So that's a multifaceted question. So it's a multifaceted answer for that. So basically, we understand that education has been, of course, been kind of taken over mostly by the government and things like this. So we understand that they do not teach financial lessons at all in high school. You can actually graduate high school and not know how to balance your checkbook. So there's a failure there that hopefully the internet can really kind of come in and substitute for, because that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that all of us, maybe on this panel entirely, have learned all this information that we know about Bitcoin, that we know about finance now, that we learned it all through the internet. And so that's hopefully gonna substitute that and bring some more information. But really, another thing is that how it works is it's very cleverly designed, right? This is taxation without representation. This is what we're having here. This inflation is taxation without representation, and it's happened slowly. They make sure that you don't notice that shit for at least decades. At least once a decade, you'll maybe take a look and wonder what the hell's happening, because the money still looks the same, but you can't buy quite as much. And over decades, it really adds up. It kind of goes like this, the inflation. It's been really adding up these past years. They claim from the government that it only is like a couple of percent per year. That's an absolute lie. They are completely, there's only a few percentage points in the inflation when there's only 5% unemployment. These are complete bogus numbers. You can look this up yourself, people, and I very much encourage you to do that. But the third final thing I'll say is that humans don't really understand exponential. Right? They don't understand exponentiality, basically. It's because when you take 30 steps linearly, you just take 30 steps. And everybody understands, everybody gets that. But when you take 30 steps exponentially, you get into the billions. And so people don't quite get that. They don't quite understand. And so Bitcoin has been showing that to the world about how this is what happens when you go exponential. This is what happens when you go from $300 to $3,000 in less than a year almost. It's really crazy for people to understand. You get people's attention, and there's really not much that has grown in the thousands of percents like Bitcoin has from the start. Like some of these cryptocurrencies, there's not many things in this world that grow at thousands of percent. The internet did it in the early days. Bitcoin has since done it. PCs have done it over the years from its inception. These world-changing technologies grow by thousands of percent in the beginning, and then eventually they level off. And it takes everybody by storm because it grows exponentially to the thousands of percents. And one day you wake up and everybody's on Facebook.
Yep. Yeah. No. But you're right. By the time it gets there, it's too late. In a small way. Not. I guess I could relate it, but in Philadelphia, they passed a sugar tax, and everybody the day that tax went into effect was up in arms, fuck this, fuck this. But the entire time you had time to vote on it, where were you people? And it's people like that are going to hold us all back as a society, is the lack of give a shit. How people are just so comfortable and just so, okay with how things are because it's already done. It's already taken care of. They don't have to work any harder than the 9 to 5 they already have. They don't have to think any harder than the TMZ breakup of Kanye and the breakup of Beyonce and everything. They don't have to think too hard. They don't have to work too hard. The system will take care of them. And whenever the system breaks, the system fixes itself. So the system just keeps going on, and as far as everybody knows, everything is fine. But, back in the early 50s, early 20s, everybody thought that's how life was supposed to be. They thought life was fine, it's normal, this is it. This is how life is. And all the revolution, all the things that have changed since then, I don't think people have the mentality to look back 100 years and see just how different everything really is, and how far you never would have seen this coming. Amazon doing what they're doing, and Amazon doing what they're about to do with having access to your doors, locks, and having access to all this, they're about to change the game again, and nobody's going to see it coming. And with Bitcoin and the ability of anybody to start their own company and accept peer-to-peer currency, it's just going to start a revolution that we cannot fathom. I love arguing with people about cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, because it's dude, you have no concept of what Ethereum is possible or what is capable of because of Ethereum. You cannot grasp that. You didn't even know how fiat was backed. You still thought fiat was backed by gold yesterday, and now all of a sudden, because you put $10 in with Ethereum, you know that it's a shitty blockchain. Get the fuck out of here. We cannot fathom what this technology is going to do in 10 years, let alone 100 years. It's going to be as different as 100 years ago is today from then. That percentage may even be with another zero. That's how different everything is going to be. We're never going to see it coming. Vortex, you were absolutely correct.
Yeah, it's really going to blow people's minds how fast this stuff comes on and how fast it goes. And the markets are testing it right now. We're seeing if it's a viable solution to the problem. And these cryptocurrencies have been solving many problems. Bitcoin mainly has been solving problems all over the world. But you have to understand that superpowers shift, right. London and Europe, they were the superpower in the 1900s, and the U.S. was the superpower in the 20th century, and now a lot of people believe China will be the superpower in the 21st century. You got to remember these things, these paradigms, these superpowers, they shift with monetary policy changes. When we have global monetary policy changes, superpowers shift, and Bitcoin is going to usher in a global monetary policy change, and this will usher in a financial revolution that's going to change the world. And whether China is going to be the superpower, I don't know. But I can tell you this, that in 10 years, Ken, we don't have to look out 100 years. In 10 years, this world will look much, much different. It'll be much less poverty in the world. Everybody will be able to earn value from doing almost anything you can think of. From walking, if you walk a little extra, you'll get some walking coin. If you drive a little, safer, you'll get some safer coin. If you leveled out your hard drive space, your CPU space a little bit, you'll get some of those coins. It will be impossible to not obtain value. And this is just one small tip of the iceberg about what crypto is going to do for the world.
Wow, I could keep going all night on this conversation, man. But to wrap things up, I think that's a great place. Again, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you one more time, and then we can wrap up the interview.
Did you want to talk about Bitcoin Cash first, or no?
Ooh, man, that could get deep, dude. Bitcoin Cash. All right, so can you do it in 3 minutes? Go ahead and let everybody know.
Oh, God. Okay, so Bitcoin Cash is the miner-activated hard fork.
ASIC coin.
That Gian and Bitmain are launching through their proprietary company called ViaBTC. ViaBTC is so far the only exchange that is going to host this altcoin called Bitcoin Cash. And my personal opinion, it's probably going to fall down to a few dollars after it's actually launched. If it's launched, I just want to have people understand that this is not this is not Bitcoin. This is an altcoin. This is no more Bitcoin than Litecoin is. Okay, this is just a hard fork of Bitcoin trying to take Bitcoin's name, and they're not even fully doing it right because they're calling it Bitcoin Cash instead of Bitcoin. You can call Bitcoin whatever you want, but the real Bitcoin is always understood and claimed to be the valid by nodes. Economic majority of nodes are going to invalidate your coin if it's not Bitcoin. So the economic nodes are what's going to validate what is the valid chain for the miners to mine.
Here's the thing about naming it Bitcoin, though. Were you aware of the trading fiasco a couple months back where Bitcoin Dark and Bitcoin Price went parabolic in volatility? I'm talking upwards of 5,000% in one day, and then dropping 7,000% in one day, just because it had Bitcoin in the name.
There's already people that are actually confusing that. There's actually some hard fork people that are actually pro-SegWit, pro-hard fork, pro-Bitcoin Cash that went to go buy BCC on on the what is that damn exchange? On
BitConnect.
On Bitfinex, but that's actually the core coin. That's actually Bitcoin Core.
Never mind, yeah.
A vote for Core, the opposite team that they're assuming that they're voting for. So it's confusion in the markets. It's really irresponsible for ViaBTC and Bitmain to do this. It's really going to confuse the market for a little while, but I assure you, not very long, as you saw last time. It'll go right back down. I'm
also a little confused because they're calling it BCC when BitConnect is also BCC. So dude, I just don't get that concept. That was a poor decision on their part.
They don't care. They don't care, man. They're only going to be listing it on their own proprietary exchange that's ViaBTC. No one else is going to list this. Coinbase is not going to list it. A bunch of other exchanges have come out saying they're not going to list it. Poloniex was like, if it gets, you know, enough value, we might list it. Nobody's going to list it.
But we do know that there's plenty of exchanges out there that sell their abilities for about a Bitcoin or two, and you can get your coin, any coin, on that exchange. So those are the exchanges I recommend people to be weary of. Don't use a shit exchange because you'll get stuck with shit coins.
Well, just also make sure to keep your coins off the exchanges come August 1st. Just to be safe, on the safe side, don't spend your coins around August 1st. Just give it a couple days, let the network settle. Remember, this is not a database. This is not Amazon Web Services. This is a decentralized, censorship-resistant, global, brand new monetary system outside of the state. So this is very experimental. So just keep that in mind. Try to keep your coins off the exchanges during August 1st.
All right, there we go. Thank you, Vortex, for being on the show, man. I appreciate you. You're an awesome host of your own show, so everybody make sure you check out the description box below. Go subscribe. John, thank you for co-hosting today. I believe you'll be here every day this week, right? You can make it?
Yeah, I'm
All right.
on it.
We'll be going live.
Yeah,
We'll be going live every night at 10 p.m. Eastern, and if we hit 100 live viewers, we'll be giving away Litecoin at the end of the show. Unfortunately, we did not hit our goal today, but hopefully we have better luck tomorrow. So invite a friend, bring a friend with you, share the link. We hit enough viewers. If you entered, somebody will win. All right, so let me go ahead and test out this outro. All right, guys, thank you all. Have a day.